Hello again. Just sitting here in Pearl, daydreaming on a hot sunny afternoon. Kind of trying to figure out what to do next, Last time, here on the MT and Me, we crawled around under Pearl's rear end, doing some probing and checking around the gas tank. And we found out a few things. Discovered where the connectors were for the hooks. We discovered there were 3 straps instead of just 2 holding it in place. And we have a good idea about how to get those off now. Discovered what we needed to do to disconnect the sending unit and things like that. And also found the filler tube and how we would get it off. What we have not found yet is the emissions vent system. Somewhere on that tank there has to be a vent to let the air out that has to go somewhere as you put gas in. Well, we still got to look for that. And we're going to do that today. You're on the MT and Me. When you look up the emissions canister in Pearl's Bible for this particular model, it shows it as being mounted on the frame right next to the engine on the passenger side, very close to the entire fuel pump assembly, which is only logical since the vacuum connections have to go to the carburetor and the manifold. That location means it should be somewhere right in here. And it's not. It's nowhere to be found. There is nothing anywhere on the framework on this side that even resembles a vacuum canister. So, what exactly does that mean? Frankly, I'm not sure. But there's apparently not a emissions line running from the fuel tank up to the front to a vacuum charcoal canister to filter those fumes from the tank and feed them back through the carburetor for the combustion system. That's what an emission system does. We don't seem to have that. In the mid and late 70s, emission systems were just in the process of becoming required under law on vehicles. This is when the EPA was really upping its ante as far as watching the hydrocarbon emissions from anything operating with an internal combustion engine. As always, and even as it is today, the state of California was leading the way with emission regulations. If you had a vehicle that was made for use in California, it had all kinds of stuff on it that you didn't find anywhere else in the country. Pearl was not made for California. So, as a result, I got a feeling she pretty well has the bare minimum when it comes to the emissions requirements. I don't know for sure. That's just a guess, just a speculation. But it would seem so, because she does not have a vacuum pump, which is another accessory that you would find that would literally be on the front of the engine, along with the alternator and power steering and things like that. She doesn't have that. She doesn't have a vacuum diaphragm system, which actually would mount right here. I mean, there's a place for it on the valve cover, but it's not there. And I can find it in some of the diagrams in the service manual as well. Well, she didn't come with it, so we don't have any of that. So basically, I think we're right at the bare minimum when it comes to the required emission controls for the late 70s. She still has to have a vent on that gas tank because you can't fill a gas tank unless it's vented. So I guess we go back under and keep looking. This is Pearl's framework. Well, at least half of it is the right side framework. And there just is not any kind of tubing here. Now there is the metal gas line. Now, more to say about that in a moment here, okay? Because I've discovered something. These two rubber hoses have nothing to do with the emissions system. They were actually part of the air conditioning system. Let me explain that. Pearl had an additional AC coil in the passenger compartment in the back, actually under where the dinette was, and it actually circulated air from the factory installed air conditioner at the front of the vehicle on the motor that would cool the cab and everything. It circulated coolant back to that coil, so you also had an additional output in the rear part of the cabin. Now, the purpose here was to try and keep the cabin a little cooler, because when you're driving, you can't use the air conditioner that's installed on top. It's a 110 volt unit, and you got to literally be stopped and plugged in somewhere in order to turn it on. So driving down the road, if you want to keep the whole vehicle cool, you're depending on that air conditioner that's run by the engine. And this simply ran a separate set of coolant lines to the back into another coil assembly, and it had its own fan so that you could adjust the speed, and that way you had cool air in the back part of the RV as well as in the front. Pretty nifty idea. Well, I pulled all that out, but the coolant tubes are still here, and at present they're still connected up front. It's something I'm going to have to disconnect and plug if I ever hope to get that air conditioner working. Either that or perhaps reinstall it. It's not a bad idea when you think about it, so maybe I'll put it all back together. We'll see. That's neither here nor there for today. Point is, those two big rubber hoses and a metal gas line are the only thing I can find going from this area up front. And interestingly enough, I don't know how I didn't notice this in the past couple of weeks working under here, but I just now took note of the fact that there are two metal gas lines. We're only using one of them, but there are definitely two lines. Let me show you. Now we're looking at the same place where I took out that little clicker pump. It was mounted right here on the side of the frame. Okay. This is the hose coming out of the gas tank, the one I cut that went into the clicker pump. This hose is the one that was in the other end of the clicker pump. It loops around and attaches to a metal line right here that you can trace, and it goes all the way up front to the fuel filter, and from the fuel filter onto the pump. Okay. But looky here. You see this? See that? That's another gas line. It goes over here along the framework itself and goes up front. And right when you get to the fuel filter, you see the other end. Here's the gas line that came from the pump. It's attached to the fuel filter, and this goes on up front. This is the other end of that gas line that I showed you. That's not connected to anything. And it obviously used to go right into the fuel filter and go on. So I guess what I'm saying here is the gas line, the fuel line, running from the tank forward has been replaced. The assumption would be that whenever they put that clicker pump in, they just went ahead and installed a new gas line for reasons that I can't imagine. There doesn't appear to be anything wrong with the old line. It could be totally clogged and might be useless, but it's been sitting open for so long now that there'd be no way to tell. It appears to be intact, and I'm thinking it is the original fuel line for one reason. It is installed where the book shows it being installed. It comes out of the tank, it goes over, and it runs right against the framework all the way to the front of the chassis. This other line doesn't do that. It kind of meanders its way down the middle area. It's looped over the cross braces in the frame. So it looks like an aftermarket installation, and I'm sure that it is. I don't know why it's there. I don't know why they had to do it. I'm sure that there was a reason. I'll never, ever know that reason unless you have a good guess and want to put it in the comments below. And if that's the case, please do, because I have no idea. What I do know is that as far as me getting this system to run, I don't think it makes a bit of difference. That old line is not hurting anything where it is. I'm going to leave it. It's obviously been there forever anyway. The new line was obviously working because they drove Pearl a whole lot before they sold her and parked her. So I think we're okay as far as all that goes. It's just another page in the mystery that I'm writing about this girl. It's incredible. Sometimes I'm working on her, and it's so, I feel like I'm in a mystery novel. Wow. Page after page, things keep developing. So anyway, we have two metal gas lines, one of them put in to replace the other for reasons that we can't figure out why. The gas line is running right up front. There is no vapor line associated with it, the emissions vapor system. I can't find that. That's not there. And here again, the book shows it traveling right along the framework of the chassis up front, going into that charcoal canister that we have already showed you is not there. As for finding that emissions line, I've already told you I just can't reach on the top of the tank. It is right against the bottom of the floor, or it seems to be anyway. So if there is a an emissions hose coming out of the top of the tank, it must come out of a recessed area and be very, travel through a very thin place in order to get out. It doesn't come out over on this side. If it did, I would find it going up front. So I guess we are relegated to searching elsewhere around the tank to see if we can find it. Now, we've looked at the back. The back of the tank goes right against a crossbeam frame, so there's no access there. We've looked at this end of the tank. This is where the filler hose goes in, and there's nothing there. That really only leaves this other end over here. Which is right here. And I can't see anything in that general area that looks like an emission hose coming out. I can crane my neck a little more than the camera can. Look over this rear axle back into there, and there's nothing there. So to say I am puzzled could be the understatement of the month. So here again, I plead to you, my nomies, give me your ideas. You ever dropped a tank out of a Dodge van? Tell me where the heck you found the emission vapor vent at. It's starting to look like I may just have to disconnect the tank and drop it and look as I go. Maybe there will be enough play in it that I could bring it on down and then disconnect it. I would hope so. It has occurred to me that I do not have to take the sending unit out of this tank. There are 2 wires on it. There's a ground wire that just goes to chassis, and then there's the wire that actually goes up front to the fuel gauge as part of the sending unit. Well, that wire simply unplugs from the unit itself. I can pull it off. I can take out a screw and disconnect the ground wire. And I have already disconnected the gas line. I cut it going to that clicker pump. So all I have is about that much hose on it. So yeah, I can just pull the wires and drop the tank and then mess with taking the sending unit out. And that's good, because where this tank is and where this rear axle is and where the sending unit is, it would not be easy to get that thing out of the tank with it all in place. So yeah, I think definitely we'll get the tank out and then we'll worry about removing the sending unit. So I think that'll just about do it for this week's Adventures Under Pearl. It's a whole new subcategory of the MT and me that I've created, because I'm getting so accustomed to being under here, it's starting to feel a little homey. I could just bring myself a pillow and take a nap if it wasn't 115 degrees under here. So another day of this extreme heat and working in the only shade I can find. But okay, to recap, I know we still haven't found that vent, but we did find another mystery, a second fuel line that is there for reasons, well, it's the original fuel line. I'm almost certain of that. It's the factory line. Why they saw fit to put a different one in, that I don't know, but they did, and it's there. so I got 2. I guess it's good to know I have a spare if I ever need it. Anyway, if you have anything that might help to solve that mystery, please comment below, because I'm kind of at a loss on it. And leave your comments about anything else we found here, especially on where that bloomin' vent might be, or if there even is one. I know there's got to be one. In order to fill the tank, you have to vent it. But as far as there apparently is not a rubber line running up front to a charcoal canister to recycle the fumes, that doesn't exist. Now, whether it did and somebody took it out, because that has happened from time to time, or whether in this particular model it was just never put in because it wasn't required in 1977 under the EPA rules. I just don't know. But it's not there. And now we know it's not there. So, you got any ideas, opinions? If you've got experience with this beyond me, please comment below. Let me hear from you, okay? And the search for the vent will continue next time around as we continue with another episode of Adventures Under Pearl here on the MT and Me. Comment below while you're down there. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to this video if you haven't already. Buy me a coffee, because after all this crawling around under Pearl, I can really use one. Be sure to join us each and every time, every week here, as we uncover something new and add more to the mystery of Pearl here on the MT and Me. Nomies, I love you guys and gals. You make it happen for me, okay? Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time around, I'm Russ, gonna crawl out from under here, but we will talk later. Toodles.